All right, we're live. Welcome, everybody. I know we haven't gone live in a while. And so we just wanted to do like a little check in and just chat about dreams, see if we get any comments. If not, you know that I could talk about dreams for hours. So, my
Yep.
favorite topic. So, yay.
And it's me, Skyfall here. And yes, we are all still alive and we are still in the lucid dreaming space. And I just wanted to check in with all of you guys. Going to chat with you all today, shoot the breeze, see what's going on, and make sure everybody knows that we're still out here.
I think just like the entire title of the video that we're going to be running right now, there has been a little bit of inactivity. I'm going to say that that's definitely true, but at the same time, we're informing you that we are definitely still here.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, it's good. I want people to know that, regardless, the community is still alive. There's so many different places to chat about lucid dreams and just dreams in general. So, yeah, let's just do like a general check-in, like Skyfall and Curious. Have you guys had any interesting dreams lately, or what have you guys just been up to?
Well, I've been busy as heck with school. I've got this big, research project that I'm doing that my professor for one of my classes likes to give people a head start on. And by a head start, I mean assigning massive annotated bibliography the semester before you usually use it for your capstone. So this has been fun in air quotes. And it's been my biggest stressor of the year. Other than that, things have been going well. I've been busy with some other things as well too that I won't get into. But I'm definitely kicking around, been busy. I've had some interesting dreams. I had some related to like Star Trek, Star Wars type stuff. There was one from a couple of weeks ago where I managed to basically kind of jump into the air and get onto a plane again. But like just like in a lot of my really fun plane dreams, right as I'm taking off, like I end up waking up right as I'm taking off, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's still pretty cool. See what else? What else have I been doing lately? Dream recalls kind of fluctuated up and down a bit. Depends on the day and how much sleep I'm getting. Um, Probably the largest number of dreams that I have are travel related in terms of any specific theme because that's just something I really love and enjoy doing. And so I was dreaming a lot of times that I'm in some random places. Sometimes they have names, sometimes they don't, sometimes they don't even matter. Just at any different places, hotels, cities, conferences, sometimes places with friends, places with family, all sorts of stuff. And so travel related things are really like the highlight. Cruise ships and ships. I have a lot of those kind of dreams too. So basically that's what my dreamy life is kind of like a lot of times is a lot of travel related stuff, which is fun.
On my side, as with LDI, I've been doing a lot as associated with AI, and essentially the idea that so actually a while ago we teased doing a GPT as a dream AI, and in this case we've kind of shifted towards away from the GPT aspect of it, since originally that was paid, and plus there's limits on GPT 4.0 for a free user. So even though they did make that free, it was okay, but it wasn't an optimal system. So what I've been working on recently is just turning that into a Discord bot, and I've filled it with about like 43,000 words, but just a lot of context that essentially, I wouldn't say replaces, but it allows the system to become a compendium or something that you can ask about. And the most important thing about an AI is it's personalizable without having a human being there. So that's been an interesting project. Off with dreams, I think we share that in common, Skyfall, as to having travel-related dreams. I'm sure we both love doing that. At the same time, I think, at least for me, because I've been very, very busy with a lot of other different things, college-related. So in this case, I've had a couple interviews, and with those, as you can expect, it's one of my favorite things to do. I think just practicing something. I've done this with speeches. Now with interviews, it's one of the most interesting parts of what I've been doing recently. But again, frequency hasn't been terrible, but hasn't been good either.
And Amina, what have your dreams all been like?
Hey, sorry guys, I was trying to mess with the stream. I don't know if it cut out, but so I've had lots of cool dreams lately, lots of cool updates. Although I'm not active on the Discord server or just LDI in general much in the past couple weeks, I've been doing like, waking life, job, life stuff. But on the dream side, it's been fun. So I did the online conference, The Many Worlds of Lucid Dreaming. I did like a presentation there. That was fun. It wasn't like a Zoom presentation. It was just like a paper, um, just about like shared dreaming possibilities, presenting the idea that is maybe more natural than we think. So that was cool. It was like an online discussion. And then on the research side of things, I visited Northwestern. They have a research lab there that focuses on studying lucid dreams. So that was a lot of fun because I participated in a study, so I could talk about that. I had cool dreams there. I had lucid dream in the lab, thankfully, which I was nervous about. Because, just because I'm a lucid dreamer doesn't mean I can guarantee that I have a lucid dream on command when I'm going to participate in this study. But luckily I did, and that was a lot of fun. And then just overall, I've been really interested in like the research aspect of things. I've been looking for like PhD programs to go into, and obviously I want to study lucid dreaming, but I'm also okay with studying consciousness adjacent topics, that are related to just all this cool medical stuff that I'm into. So I've been kind of asking my dreams for like advice and just guidance, like what should I research? I have so many interests when it comes to this stuff that I'm like, what should I like focus on? What questions can I answer? Right. And so I had a cool lucid dream like this morning where I was like looking through all these like research articles. I was like in the future because I was looking at all these pictures. I was fully lucid. And so I was like intentionally going out doing this task of, just thinking of what I could research about. So I was like going through all these files and documents. The pictures were of like me and my family in like the future because I was like older. I was like 60 years old or something in the picture. And I was like reading all these like publications and documents of just like, titles of research papers and stuff, like not only like mine, but just like random people's. So I was like in the lucid dream, like, oh my God, I'm in the future, like trying to memorize all of this. And if I can remember correctly, so one of the titles was like, transformational figures in lucid dreams. And then another one was like an article that I wrote about like psychiatry and lucid dreaming. And there was one about like children and lucid dreaming. So like these are all cool topics, right? But like that just does not narrow down my question at all. But I think it's cool that my brain is kind of helping me get there, and like my dream intention is paying off. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
So you said a little bit about the idea that you'd be doing things that are consciousness adjacent. I know dreams are definitely one of them. What else have you been looking into?
Yeah, so like pretty much places that are interested in studying altered states of consciousness, near death experiences, um, not only looking for like biological markers and brainwave activities, but like looking at it from like, a wider perspective that like challenges the framework of science. I'm also interested in like psychedelic research and that kind of stuff. So I will be okay with like, if I got a cool job at a research lab doing any of this stuff. But obviously, like I have a passion in lucid dreaming as well. So I'll find a way to incorporate that in whatever I do.
Tell me how that whole process was like getting into the Ken Pollard lab at Northwestern. How was it like finding out about the study, qualifying for it, going through that? Because I know there's definitely a lot of people who think that would be amazing and a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, for sure. So it started because I was basically like, in my process of like looking for programs and schools and stuff, I just kind of emailed them because I knew about them already. I was just like, hey, I'm checking you guys out and like, just introducing myself. And I was like, if you have any studies I can participate in, like, let me know. I'm a lucid dreamer. Like, pretty much that's what I said. And they wrote back eventually and they were like, oh yeah, like we have this ongoing study right now if you're ever in Chicago in the next couple months. And I was like, yeah, I'm going. So I literally booked a flight to Chicago to be able to do that. I literally went out there just for that. I have some friends out there and stuff that I could stay with, so I made it work. But yeah, it was really fun, literally like something I've always wanted to do. I went into the lab. They like hooked me up with like EEG, EMG monitors, different things. um, and yeah, they were doing a study on how sounds incorporate into the dream. So they like played certain sounds that I was supposed to look out for in the dream and like report if they made it into the dream. And then I had to do the left right eye signal if I became lucid. And I also had to do like certain sniffles like for when I heard a sound. So if I heard a chicken sound, I do like one nose sniffle. So I had like a nasal cannula that was like reading my breaths. And it was cool. Like I saw it on the EEG monitor and everything. Like I got to see it all in action. Like every time I move my eyes left and right, like, you know, the data and everything, what it looked like. So
I
that was
honestly
really fun.
think sniffing would be a more fun form of communication than eye movements. Like,
It was easier for sure.
yeah, it's like it'd be pretty easy. Like you could just, you know, you could do Morse code and all sorts of stuff with that. I mean, do more than a binary type of signal with it. It'd be pretty fun, I think, to mess with stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
also thought the signal was easier to read on the chart too with the sniffles. So I thought that
you
was
actually
cool.
got to see it after the fact.
Yeah, they showed
That's
me, they sent me a
awesome.
picture.
They showed you that.
Yeah, they were
That
really
is
transparent and open. I was like, wow, that's
that is
awesome.
really cool. Just say that's cool. All right.
Yeah. They had like 3 different chambers, sleep chambers with beds and, you know, cameras and mics and everything. And they actually have this collaboration with like some Tibetan monks that are researching lucid dreaming, and they're here from Tibet, like collaborating. So they were there like helping out. It was cool.
That is actually pretty dang cool. Not gonna lie. So how long were
That's a
you there?
lot
Were
of
you there for
content. Oh,
2
sorry.
days?
Yeah, no, I was in Chicago for 3 days, but it was one overnight. So they
One
have
one overnight.
20
Yeah.
yeah, 20 participants for this study, and I was participant number 18. There are some studies where they have, you know, a participant come back multiple nights, but yeah, in this
Mhm.
study it was just one. But I'm on the
Yep.
list for another one, hopefully someday.
Awesome. I gotta find out how to get on that list myself. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you could just email them. It's That's what I did.
Okay, will. Okay, so
Yeah, and
let's.
so okay, so another thing about the dreams in the lab. So it's very common for like people to dream of the lab when they're in the lab. And I knew this going into it. So I was like, okay, you know, preparing myself mentally. If I dream of the lab, I'm going to do a reality check or whatever, like trying to, you know, hoping that I would get a dream, a lucid dream in the lab. Um, and so, yeah, while I was in there, every single dream was lab related. Like before I became
So
lucid, I had like all the stuff on, and it was all like something going wrong, and it was crazy.
this actually begs the question because I see like, and not just one answer, because I don't think any of these are mutually exclusive, but I can see like 2 or 3 different possibilities for why people dream of the lab. I can see a few different ones. One is, you know, you're in that environment, maybe you're a little anxious or nervous about it. 2, obviously you have all this equipment hooked up to you, and you know that's registers and dreams for people a lot. But then the other thing is, if you're expecting that you're going to dream about the lab, how much or how little does that influence you dreaming about it? And that's something that I don't know how you measure that because of all the other things that could be going on there. Like, how do you actually confirm that you're, you know, like, I don't know if you can really measure that. That's the thing,
Yeah.
because you know it's there's not only one possible cause for that type of
Yeah,
thing.
I was thinking about it, but a lot of people, because this is already a phenomenon, like a lot of people, like they just report that's the type of
Yeah,
dreams they had. I think it has to do with like the fact that I could feel it was very uncomfortable to sleep with all these cables and everything. So there was no way that I couldn't sense it while I was sleeping. Like I was consciously somewhat aware of it. So it's gonna make its way into the dream, you know? Like I could feel all this stuff on my head. So naturally, even if I wasn't directly in the lab, I had all this cap on and all this gear on.
yeah.
And I just thought like, oh, I have to, you know, they interrupted the experiment for some reason. No, it's a dream.
I mean,
And
just
it's
imagine like having those dreams of, like, you think it actually goes back to some old LaBerge experiments where he had someone who, in fact, from my memory of it, the person was dreaming and then they signaled they were lucid, and then they had a false awakening and signaled that they were awake, and like someone was removing the electrodes or whatever, and then they realized they were still dreaming, and so they had a false awakening about being still in the
yeah,
lab. Yeah, that goes all the way back to like
that
some of the LaBerge
happened.
stuff. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. It's very common, and I feel like the lab should like use that while training dreamers beforehand. Because so this happened to me in the lab. I actually thought I had woken up, and it was a false awakening. But they
yeah,
told me as well, just do the sniffles anyway, because false awakenings are very common. So I did. And when I was reporting later, I was like, oh, I thought I was awake when I was doing that. And he was like, no, your eyes movement were showing that you were in REM. And I'm like,
Yep.
that's crazy, because I was seeing the room around me. Like, that just opened up my mind to all these questions of like,
Doesn't matter because you have to. I think it'd be cool to see like just how consistent some of my false awakenings are because of how consistent my room is. Probably my most recent false awakening was a couple nights ago, and I was dreaming that there's a YouTuber that I follow called Clamave de Profundis. They put out a lot of different kind of music that's mostly like kind of more formalistic, but they do like fantasy type stuff, like Lord of the Rings type stuff, and they put poems to song and stuff. But anyway, so I was dreaming that they were doing a live stream and I was able to talk to them, but I was talking to them on my phone and I was like laying in my bed and my phone was right there on the nightstand where I always keep it. And I was talking to them and I started singing one of the songs that I really like. And yeah, yeah, false awakenings can be really convincing sometimes. I mean, that's the thing with them. They can be very convincing.
yeah, very. And sometimes everything doesn't even act dreamlike, you know? Like, I'll do a reality check and it won't be dreamy, so I'll be like skeptical of it and I'll be like, well, I guess I'm awake.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be dreamy per se, you know. And again, like if you a lot of that, you know, there's a lot of I think perception expectation that goes into that where you know you and I know for me, like I expect my room to be a certain way, and it almost always is, with only a couple of exceptions, which are dreamlike when they happen. Like, you know, maybe something's there that shouldn't be, or some other thing. But for the most part, things are the way they are because I kind of expect them to be that way in my room. And so it's kind of cool. False awakenings are really cool in moderation. Obviously, you don't want to have like 10 of them in a row, but in moderation, they can be pretty fun.
Definitely. And then that's just frustrating because then when something is off and I didn't realize it at all, I'm like, come on, how did you not notice that? Like, all this crazy stuff was going on in the lab, and like the head cap was giving me like these painful, shocking signals. And I was like, there's no way this is real. And like, I didn't pick up on that it was a dream. I was just like, this is painful. Like, why did I sign up for this? But it was not a part of the experiment, I guess.
Those are the only times I state test are false awakenings. They're basically the only times I state test. In dreams, anyway. Yeah, but yeah, basically. I don't really do it much while awake either.
Yeah, I like them a lot, but I don't rely on them because they do fail me quite often. I just do it. I almost do it kind of as like just to continue grounding myself throughout the dream so I don't forget. Because sometimes I'll be lucid and then something will distract me and I'll go into non-lucid mode and just go into the story. I get sucked in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that happened. That happened to me a couple nights ago too. But yeah, that happens. Gaining and losing lucidity in the dreams when they're going on. But yeah, false awakening is usually the only time where I'm maybe not 100% certain when I notice something off, and I'm in that kind of state of mind. But typically outside of a false awakening, I'm not state testing because I'm just noticing something, and there's some contextual clues and some other things around going, hey, this is completely weird. You know, what are you doing here? Why are you here right now? And it's a lot more obvious in that regard than being in my room with everything in its proper position. And you know, something sometimes just feels just a tiny bit off in these false awakenings, and it's easier to catch it after the fact. But that's how I kind of tell in like these false awakenings going, yeah, this thing just feels just a little off. Or I get something that feels like, hey, am I transitioning into a dream or have I already? And then I can kind of get that feeling, go, yeah, I might be in a false awakening right now. That's kind of how that goes for me. It's usually something it's more subtle than typical dream signs. In fact, one of my favorite ways to check if I'm in a false awakening is if I'm moving my head from side to side very gently and slowly. In a dream, it'll actually move more dramatically than, because I'm not really, it'll actually move fully right to left without the actual amount of force that would be required to move it. So with just basically intention and not really any action, I can get that and I go, yeah, that's something I've done to see if I'm in false awakenings before. It's a little more out there, but you can do that without moving anything else very easily. So
that's cool. I'm gonna try that. So I don't know if Curious has any comments on this, but I
was
have
about to say
some other stuff that I could update on, but I'm gonna give you a chance.
I do want to say, unlike a lot of parts of science in which we do we do testing. This is one of them, I think, that feels very, very experimental in nature. Especially as you said, you had those people from Tibet coming over, and as you said, it's kind of like pushing the frontiers of science. And I think what we're doing is really stretching those kinds of boundaries. So, like false awakenings, as well as everything else associated with that, I find it interesting how different it is to some other kinds of science that are done in other fields.
The Facebook thing came up again, Mina.
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to add a destination, but whatever. We'll just
Your
say
Facebook or whatever it is, I think.
yeah, but yeah, it's cool stuff, you know, like there's a lot that we can understand from like a physics standpoint about, you know, the electromagnetic activity of the brain while we're asleep, but there's so much that we don't understand. And I think that like science is taking this shift to just valuing the subjective experience more and taking that more as like data instead of just like, you know, silly anecdotes. So I'm really excited for that and just to like see how like we shift how we look at data in general. So yeah, we'll see.
Awesome.
Yes. So on another note, a couple months ago, I interviewed Michael Raduga on my podcast, and now he's going like viral. I don't know. He has a lot of you know, good marketing, I guess, but he did this latest study of they're claiming, all the news headlines are claiming, the first people to ever communicate in dreams, right? Very clickbait title, but it's interesting. Everybody's been sending it to me left and right, which I'm sure maybe you guys have been, everyone's been mentioning it to you as well. All my dreaming community friends are like just getting it sent, this article. But I'm bringing this up because Tech for Dreaming, which is a Discord community that some of us are in, they're doing an event where they're interviewing him as well. I think November 20th, and it's free. So I think, you know, it'd be really cool to join if you have any questions or whatever, if you want to just like learn more about what he's doing. I don't think the actual study has been published yet, like the actual article publication, but maybe we'll find out more details about it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I do hope they get something published. Obviously, Michael Rodriguez, he's an interesting character. I watched that episode of the podcast. It was interesting. I would say he probably, not probably, he definitely doesn't approach things in the typical sense of, you know, making sure that safety protocols are properly followed and in the most, you know, in the best ways, if you know what I mean. I don't know any other people in the field who are implanting electrodes in their own brains. That might be a little too far, honestly. It's cool science, but I don't think it's worth your life. But I will say he's definitely interesting. It sounds like he's pretty charismatic too, and if he actually does have the science to back stuff up, that'd be kind of cool. Just interesting to see if he gets anything published.
Yeah, I'm interested as well. I definitely think he's very motivated. Like, I don't think he's a bad guy necessarily. But yeah, I definitely think he's had like a learning curve with like learning how to properly publish scientific papers and get it peer reviewed and, you know, make the methods make sense. So we'll see. I mean, he's grown a lot and like he has a big fancy lab now. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Is he still in Russia or is he somewhere else? Where's he based out of?
No, he's in Silicon Valley, California.
Oh, so he's moved to California, because I thought he was Russian initially, but
he is, yeah. And he lived in Kazakhstan for a while, and then now he's in Silicon Valley.
So he actually is in the U.S. Okay, so I thought he was abroad somewhere, but no, he's actually here in the U.S. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. There's a lot of controversy.
If everything that happens with the study ends up being something that is scientifically viable, what do you think the potential for that could be as we enter new dream research and just the idea of what he's done in general?
Ultimately, I think ultimately the best potential for improving two-way communication in dreams is real-time dream reports, because every dream report ever given is retrospective. We don't really have ways of getting too many specific details from a dream as they're going on, because, you know, memory kind of degrades, and, you know, your own memory of events after they happen is, especially in dreams, can be very subject to not being the most accurate thing, but it's the best thing we have. So actually improving forms of two-way communication in dreams and you know, developing more complex methods of sending signals out of a dream can allow for more complex real-time dream reporting, which would definitely be something that would be valuable for sure.
Yeah, that would be life-changing in the research. And I think this particular study, like he had the two participants, both while in a lucid dream, communicate with some AI device and send a message. I don't know, we'll see. But I do think that in general, improving this type of communication has a lot of benefits, but I also think there's a lot of cons to it, which I want to talk about for a second. So, obviously, the potential benefits, which I also asked Michael Verdugo when I interviewed him on my podcast, like, imagine people in a coma being able to have some technology that can help them communicate or like perceive more of the, the world, or, there are certain, disabilities that it may be useful for. There's also the potential of like people harnessing this ability for, or, technology, I guess, for more potentially dangerous things, or to push certain agendas. Like, I guess with any tool or technology there can be good intentions and bad intentions, right? As dream technology in general enhances, there's going to be fears of ethical concerns and things like that. So I just think that it's important that like any researchers in general, like understand this responsibility as technology advances. But I still think it's cool stuff.
I do.
And I'm excited.
Honestly, I think brain-computer interface technology could be really cool. I mean, just for the perspective of someone, say, like me with a visual disability, there are a lot of things that I can't access and do, even though computers are really advanced and have come a long way, especially even in the past 20 years. There's still types of things and types of information I can't use, types of software. And so imagine, say you will, you could bypass non-functioning organs, someone's eyes, someone's ears, and you can actually transmit data from these devices directly into someone's brain with accuracy. So you could have, for example, artificial eyes that for someone who can't actually see would be able to transmit, high quality visual data to a receiver that could then process it into a neural impulse and bypass the organs that aren't working. I mean, that's a medical advantage for that type of technology, but we're talking something way more advanced than the type of communication we're dealing with, which is more along the lines of we're not actually able to read that primary data yet, in the sense that we can't read and translate the neural impulses directly. We're kind of translating the actions that come from the neural impulses, the eye movements, the sniffling, that kind of stuff. That not the actual neural signals themselves. So we don't have that kind of technology yet. That's going to be where the real advance comes ultimately, if that's developed, is being able to properly read and encode neurological impulses. That is because that's also where the real danger is potentially, and also where the real benefits are.
Yeah, because right now all we know is a bunch of random electrical activity. It doesn't say exactly what it is. We're just noticing patterns like, oh, when this happens, we get this type of electrical activity. But it's just a bunch of like jumbled up neurons. Like, it doesn't really mean much to us, and science is very limited in that sense. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's going to be interesting. It's going to be we're very rudimentary right now. I think the next 20 years it's going to be like insane.
For example, one of the coolest things like Neuralink is trying to do, one of their goals is to help someone who, say, is paraplegic, who can't move their legs, bypass the damaged nerves and actually restore mobility to parts of their body that they aren't able to move. Like that could be seriously life-changing technology.
Yeah,
if used correctly.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. I think that's amazing, and those implications are valid. And then, people have the fears of like on the other side of the coin, it's like, okay, well, if you can input sensory information into my brain, like just like that, are we going to get advertisements in our dreams?
Yes.
Are we going to like, that whole side of things?
Your lucid dream is going to have a 15-second unskippable ad every time.
I feel like I did have an ad in my dream the other day. It was like a margarita ad, and I was like, am I coming up with this, or is somebody doing this?
Yeah, I would say that's there again. There's any technology has the potential to be used for good or for ill, and that it ultimately comes down to the users. I definitely think that there'd be a real issue with the advertising today is already kind of getting kind of crazy with like YouTube ads and other ads that are coming up now. I mean, imagine developing an ad blocker for your neural interface. I mean that. Like, we're actually considering that as a potential outgrowth of technology. Like, just how we have, ads and ad blockers online. Imagine if people do try to start sending ads into people's brains, someone's going to have to develop an ad blocker for that. I mean,
I mean, yeah, if we're
Yeah.
arguing that we can share dreams with each other and enter each other's dream space, then I fully believe that that's a possible thing. But you know what? That is why lucid dreaming is so, so, so important. And it's a skill that everybody should have because it protects you when you have conscious, whether you can control your dream or not, when you're conscious of what's entering your dream space, you're less susceptible to just being programmed. You
Mhm.
can control what enters your mind. So I feel like that is why it's important to get people to
Yeah.
understand that we all have this ability.
I think any type of technology that's developed needs to have some sort of hard cutoff that the user can control. I mean, that's kind of important. Obviously, with anything like that, we're getting way into the future. But realistically, I do hope to see some of that kind of technology in my lifetime. I'm not as afraid of it. I understand the potential risks and stuff that come with it, but I think that there are a lot of benefits, and that it just needs to be managed well, and there needs to be good people developing it. And I think that's ultimately because here's the other side with technology. Once the cat is out of the bag, I mean, look at 5G, look at AI. If you're not developing it, someone else is, and that person may not have your interests at heart. And so that's the thing with once this technology is known about, once people understand it, someone is going to try to use it for ill, and there need to be people who understand that to develop defenses against that kind of stuff, because there are going to be people out there, once that technology is known about, that are going to use it in ways that would not be beneficial to people. And that I'm just talking corporations, I'm talking countries and political parties and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
risk. And that's really why, if you think of like the US government and stuff, that they've been doing intelligence work by looking into psychic phenomena and lucid dreams since
And,
before they even
yeah.
admitted they've been hiding it. So obviously, this is something valuable that they've been trying to, stay ahead of, I think. And I don't know. So another thing that Michael Raduga said while I was talking to him that I found interesting was that he sees a future where lucid dreaming is used to where there will be jobs eventually where you have to be lucid and to do tasks in the dream. It'll be like an actual career, like job description. I was like, wow, sign me up for that. But it's also kind of creepy because isn't that just like pushing capitalist agenda of just being more productive and like, harnessing our dream space for that? I don't know. I'm iffy about
Yeah.
it.
I think it depends on what you're doing and stuff like that. Like, for example, I would say forcing people to work in their sleep is kind of but if you wanted to say, like, if you're a content creator, or say you're someone who has a certain kind of business, or you're running your own business, or you're doing something, and you come up with an idea for how to do something in your dream, and you want to record that idea and use it, then you should have the ability to transmit that, save that somewhere. I think if that technology is available, because people are get these creative impulses from their dreams, and we have famous inventors and people that we've talked about in the past that have gotten ideas from their dreams. So imagine if you could record those in real time, and what that might be like. And there's a productive aspect to it. But yeah, like, I don't think people should be forced to work in their dreams. I think that's kind of ridiculous. But I do think people who have ideas or come up with something that could be useful, because the other side of that is our brains aren't functioning the same way when we're asleep anyway. So I don't think someone could be productive in that proper sense. Even when lucid, that doesn't mean you have that high degree of awareness and that your brain is functioning the same way you are while awake, and that your judgment would be the same as well. So I don't think you could really be properly productive and asleep at the same time.
Though I still think there are some benefits. I always tell people when, people who are about to learn how to lucid dream, or just beginners who are just getting into the practice, that one of the main benefits is that you can use part of that 8 hours, part of a third of your life that most people see as only rest. And to think that in the future, we're going to be able to develop the technology that allows us to use it in ways beyond what is only our own minds and interact with the rest of the world. I think recording is probably going to be the place that we begin with, as Skyfall said. Though I'm really, really excited to see what kind of potential will be delivered from that. And I think, as you mentioned, just this idea that the way that we process things inside a dream is very different from reality, and to find that kind of distinction, what exactly can we do inside that dream, what exactly can we do to be productive inside there, or not? Maybe what are the limitations of that too? That would be really interesting to find out as we progress.
Absolutely. And ultimately, it's time's going to tell where this technology goes, and I'm not sure how they're going to figure it out ultimately, like what that progression will look like. But understanding stuff like this, technology like this is going to come the more we understand the brain. Like that's just a fact of life, I think, at this point. The more things are understood and developed, I think it's ultimately inevitable that some type of technology like this does get developed in the future. I just don't know what it'll be or what it'll be like. But innovation is a driving force of the human experience. It's usually for good. It helps us better ourselves, better our standard of living, better our existence. Even the poor, even people who are impoverished in today's society, have it better off than the wealthy did at the beginning of the 20th century. Because the technology and the standard of living is just that much better because of innovation and things that have been developed. Really common example, the smartphone technology you have is more computing power than NASA used to send man to the moon. And that's kind of incredible. So I do think as innovation and technology develops, that some type of advancement in this field is ultimately inevitable. I just think because there's always going to be a reason to want to research and understand the human brain. I mean, that's also part of the human experience. Curiosity is, and a drive to learn more about us and about what we're doing and about the world around us. That I think that's ultimately going to be inevitable, but also it's going to leave us with more questions than answers, because that's typically how science works too. We end up understanding something and then we develop a new level of understanding that leads to more questions.
Yeah, very well said. I overall, I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to just be at the forefront of like teaching lucid dreaming to the world and like getting in with the scientists. Like the fact that the lucid dreaming community is still so small is just so cool to me. Like I just know that it's going to become more and more mainstream by the day.
Absolutely.
What is the reason that in this current moment we don't have as many lucid dreamers as we think we do? Because I think most definitely in the community, we see the massive potential of it. I feel like by this time it should be something that's pretty well known, though. I think in general, when I ask a lot of people randomly
Well, I
whether they
think it
haven't
is.
heard of it or
I think it's more well known than we think, but not talked about. And
Yeah,
there's a little
they
bit of a
just
difference.
don't talk about it.
People
Exactly.
don't talk about their dreams or talk about lucid dreaming. Like when I walk around my college campus, for example, like I'll ask people from time to time if they've heard of lucid dreaming, and I've actually been surprised by how many people have said they had, and that's the first time we've ever talked about it, or I've ever heard them talk about it, or really, because it's not a subject that comes up a lot. So I think especially younger generations, more people are at least aware of it. Not that they do it. Some people do it. I've talked to people who just done it and not really understood it. Naturals. I've talked to people who actually tried to do it at some point. And I've talked to people who knew what it was or had some tangential understanding. Maybe it wasn't the right one, but people are aware of the concept, but they're not really talking about it. And I don't know what the percentage is like. I don't think it's like 50% or anything like that that's aware of it, but maybe 20% among the younger generations, maybe 1 in 5 people. I don't know. I actually can't tell you. I'd have to ask a room of people and see how many people put their hands up, and I'm not that good at that. So,
Yeah, that's why I
yeah.
love normalized talking about dreams. And I love like getting people's reactions when you're like talking about dreams or bring up lucid dreaming and they're like, oh, I've experienced that. And like something like lights up inside of them, like when they realize like, hey, this is actually normal and cool to talk about. It makes me happy.
Absolutely.
in general conversation, we often tend to reveal a little bit of what we're thinking. And in this situation, I wonder what has made like lucid dreaming a little bit less talked about. I mean, dreams are definitely things that can tend to be very weird. I just think that just like our thoughts and how I would express right now the way that I'm thinking, maybe we could treat dreams the same way eventually and have it become, I think, one of our goals. So yeah, have it become mainstream.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the reasons why we've been here so long, is we want to try to normalize lucid dreaming and make it more acceptable to talk about it, more understood, something that people can talk about and go, hey, talking about dreams, that's perfectly fine. That's normal. That's something that we can definitely and maybe should do. And I think it starts with people just talking about it and thinking and seeing that, hey, this is something that's normal. Obviously, the real, I think, impediment to talking about dreams in particular is the deeply personal nature of dreams, and that dreams are inherently personal experiences and can also reveal things about people that maybe they don't want to talk about or share publicly. And I think that is an impediment to talking about dreams more generally in terms of like people's individual dreams and sharing them with each other, because that can be a very intimate experience and not everyone's open to that level of intimacy with a bunch of other people. And so I think that is definitely an impediment to, normalizing discussion of dreams in that sense, because we are talking about something that is deeply personal to everyone.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but it's also deeply beneficial when you do open up that communication, whether it's with close friends and family or just with dream groups. It's so many benefits to it. I mean, it's even proven scientifically that like talking about dreams helps you gain empathy for people and brings people closer. So I think, yeah, that's like you said, that's why we do what we do. That's why like I'm leaving the digital footprint that I am, like of just talking about dreams nonstop. Because I want to increase people having their first lucid dreams. I want to increase people that have been lucid dreaming for a while to like, find communities and people to talk about this kind of stuff with. And just sharing your own dreams makes it normal for people to be like, okay, well, she shared that weird, uncomfortable dream publicly on YouTube. So maybe it's normal for me to talk about this dream that I had, or like, maybe I'm not so weird after all. So I think forming that community is going to be a big part of the future, to be able to take these experiences more seriously and like just learn about the possibilities.
Absolutely.
Awesome. This has been a really fun check-in. Maybe we could, if you guys have any closing thoughts, we could wrap it up.
Not really. I think I've pretty much said, all I came to say for the most part.
I'm glad that we're basically creating an echo in the present, just so that I think for the last 2 months, if anybody has been keeping track, so yeah, I'm glad that we've done this, and I think it's a good restart, rebirth, renaissance.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. And the replay will be available, but it's been nice coming on here, just chatting with you guys, catching up, and yeah.
You'll be seeing more of us. Count on that.
Definitely. I love doing these types of streams. So we could definitely schedule more in the future, whether they're just check-ins or we think of something fun to talk about.
Or we invite some guests on and talk to them.
Yeah, all the above.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Cool. See you guys later. I'm going to stop the stream.
Have a good one, y'all.